Well, so glad you guys are here for day 2. Let's get into it. So today we are diving into content creation, and I'm super excited because there's a lot to cover today. So I want to start off by getting us set up with another breakout session just to warm everyone up and get familiar with each other even more. So same deal as yesterday, we're gonna do 10 minutes. You guys will be in groups with each other, and I want you to share, number 1, a challenge that you have faced so far with social media, with your business, and number 2, what stood out to you from yesterday's session? As you had time to sort of integrate and reflect on what we went over, what are the main things that really stood out and impacted you from yesterday's training session? So we're going to do 10 minutes and just make sure everyone has a chance to share. How does that feel? How does that sound for you guys? Kicking off this way. Awesome. Sweet. Well, let's get set up. Let's see. All right. Here we go. I'll see you guys in about 10 minutes. All right. I'm super excited to hear how your conversations went. I'd love to hear from one person from each group. What were some of the main things that came up for your group as far as the challenges that you face with social media, but then also your big takeaways from yesterday? So one person from each group, feel free to unmute and share the takeaways from your group.
I can share. Yeah, so Bridget, Rima, and I talked a lot about like the different waves of creativity we have and how sometimes we feel more inspired to share than others. Also talking about, how do we portray, what we're working on social media. Sometimes that feels difficult to translate. And yeah, also coming back to consistency was something that we all had challenges on. So yeah, those are some of the main points. And then something that we took away, it seems like, was, really the value of, genuinely reaching out to people and yeah, how that can be really useful. So yeah, it was great.
Amazing, beautiful. Yeah, I love the conversation around how to work with these creative surges or this creative energy as it comes forward, and how to stay consistent with that as well. Because we're not always in that super juicy creative state. But when we are, how do we work with it in a way that still feels aligned, still honors where we're at, and still helps us remain consistent? So we're going to be diving into that even more today. Super excited that that came up for you guys because we are going to dive into that. And yeah, I love to hear that the takeaway was really strong with the authentic reach outs and how powerful and potent that can be for making new connections for your business and even for just, collaboration as well. Beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, who else would like to share?
I think you unmuted at the same time. I guess I can share, but kind of I guess between Katrina, Elfina, and I, it was more the intentionality, I guess, with your time and kind of how you're using social media, the importance, and how if you don't set those, I guess, those boundaries, how you can start to kind of get away from yourself, and it can actually end up being or becoming more like a job and not actually having fun. I think that's kind of like where I guess the challenges that we were kind of having, but also something that we were aware of. Also, with what stood out yesterday to us was again the authentic reach out, just kind of being who you are, and actually curious about the other person, and not having the end goal of trying to sell something, and how you can have that energy, how they can kind of sense that even though you may appear like you're, really out trying to help them, but you're at the end of the day, you're just looking for some money.
Right. Yeah, so the big takeaways for you guys was really about the intentionality, like how you're spending your time on social media, and then also the energy behind the reach out process as well. Like the angle that you're coming at it from, instead of like, hey, trying to sell you this thing, even if you're coming off as, hey, I want to connect, right? But really taking away the impact of the energy behind all of those decisions as well, right? Yeah. And what were the challenges that came up for you guys with social media that you were having some challenges with?
Feeling like pretty much a job, not having fun.
Right.
Potentially even with like the outreach part of not getting we didn't even say the views for the amount of time that you're
Right.
putting in. So I think that was like the problems that we were kind
Yeah,
of as generally facing.
absolutely. Yeah, with anything, with any kind of business, whether you're coming into it because you absolutely love it, or you're coming into it because you're like, I know I'm good at this thing, I know that I could have a successful business with it. Either way, there's always this challenge of, well, now this feels like a job, especially if you're a creative person and you're bringing your creativity into the business world. There's always that challenge of like, okay, and now I'm doing this and this is my job and I'm relying on this for my income. And so then the desire turns into the have tos and the shoulds. And so we're going to be talking a bit about how to create content from a fun place and to really bring that creativity and that enjoyment into it, because at the end of the day, we are doing this work that we're doing because we are passionate about it, because we love what we do, because we want to share it with people, because we want our creativity, our spark to be the forefront of the work that we do. So how can we continue to nurture that flame without smothering it, right? And that's the goal, to find that perfect balance of creative spark and, commitment and showing up consistently without dimming the flame and suffocating what you're really, really passionate about. So I love that this is all coming up, because we're going to get into it. Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for sharing. Who is ready to dive in today? Can you guys comment at 333? Let me know that you're with me. Ready to go. Ready to dive in the content world. Let's go. Let's go. Awesome. I love it. Okay. So I'm curious, who in here, and you can raise your hand or you can drop it in the chat, who in here tends to spend way too much time creating content? Like, you want to create content, so you commit time to it, but then you end up like one reel takes you like an hour to make. Yeah? Okay. So there's some of that in the room. Okay. So who in here feels like you're not spending enough time creating content? Maybe you're procrastinating it, you feel that heavy, I should do this, and so then you keep avoiding it. Or maybe you just feel low on creative juices, not sure what to post about. How many of you guys tend to feel that? And you can feel both too. Got it. Cool. So there's some of that in the room as well. I'm curious if anyone in here spends the time to create content, but then doesn't post it. Yeah? Yeah, for sure. For sure. We all do it. We all do it. We all do all of these things, right? And there's so many layers of why like we might do this. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is not having a strategy, not having an organization, having self-doubt, and not having a good enough system to plug into to make it easy and fun, right? If we're spending over an hour making a reel that could have taken us 10 minutes, like, that's so much time that we could have spent making more content or focusing on other parts of our businesses that need more attention, or just doing whatever you want to do. Because part of owning an online business, part of owning a business in general, is the fact that we get to create it however we want. We get to create more time freedom for ourselves if that's what we want, right? Sometimes it's just tricky to know exactly how to do that. So I can totally relate to all of you in these positions because I have been there before. It used to take me over an hour to make a reel, and sometimes I'd spend all that time working on it to just not even post it and let it sit in my drafts for forever because of some fear that it wouldn't be good enough. And then other times I'd feel so guilty for not creating or posting anything for a couple of days. So you've probably heard, I'm sure you've all heard a million times, it's so important to be consistent on social media. That's why a lot of us are here today in this room, because we want to be more consistent without dimming that flame, right? But what does this even mean? Like, what does consistency even mean? Everyone has different opinions about what's the best way to show up consistent on social media. Well, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in moving and living with our individual cycles, and that there's no one way to do anything. And even if, all the Instagram gurus out there are saying, you got to post 3 times a week, you got to post 5 times a week, I have seen and experienced personally in my life that it does not matter how many times a week you post. What matters is staying consistent and committing to something and showing up for that. So, because at the end of the day, like, if it feels good for you and you feel alive and you post twice a week, but the content that you create feels really good, that's going to get more attention than posting 3 times a day, lower quality content that doesn't feel as good, that feels like I should be doing this, right? Because our energy behind everything makes a huge difference, and it is felt even through the content that we create. So the bottom line is that consistency is important, but it is different for everyone. So your goals, your individual goals, are going to help determine how often you actually want to post, which will inform your content strategy. So let's consider a few different ways this could go. I want you guys to reflect on these questions and then put your answers in the chat. Which goal resonates the most with you right now? Are you looking for visibility and following to build your brand awareness on social media? Or are you looking for more sales and conversions right now? And you might kind of lean on both, but I would consider which one out of the 2 options are more important for you right now. Okay, conversions and sales. I'm seeing visibility and following, sales and conversions. So there's a bit of a mix in the room, which is great. So you guys are going to have probably different goals. So if you are, okay, let's also consider real quick, are you looking for fast growth or slower growth? Like, do you want that fast growth of visibility, fast growth of new sales and conversions coming through your account, or are you comfortable with more slower long-term growth? And drop it in the chat. Long-term, comfortable with slow. Slower long-term. Awesome. I love how you guys are in this for the long run. Yeah. Amazing. So all of you guys pretty much are looking for that long-term, slow and steady growth. Of course, like, if there is fast growth, then that's great too. But I think it's really great to also have this perspective of, I'm in this for the long run and I'm comfortable with the rate of growth that, I have the capacity to cater to. So that's great. So let's also consider, how much time per week do you have to commit to marketing on social media? Is it 1 to 2 hours per week? Is it more like 4 to 6 hours per week? Maybe even more? How much time per week are you willing to commit to social media marketing? So I see 5 hours, 4 to 6, about 4 hours, 2 hours. Okay, great. These are all great answers. And I want you guys to remember what you, or write down, the answers to these questions, because that's going to help you determine what consistency will look like for you. So if you were looking for fast growth on Instagram and you have, 4 to 6 hours per week, I would recommend posting 5 times per week and focusing on engagement and interacting on your stories. So this is also including your DM outreach strategy if you choose to implement that, like we talked about yesterday. Having 4 to 6 hours per week, you should be able to post 5 times per week, easy. Okay, and that's going to help initiate faster growth, right? You're putting out more content, so there's a higher probability that more people are going to see that content if it feels good to you to post that much. And this is just, we're looking at one platform, let's say Instagram. And we'll talk a little bit more about reposting and repurposing content in a little bit. But this can be 5 posts per week that you post on Instagram, and you repurpose the same post, and maybe you post, 3 posts per week on TikTok, 3 times per week on Facebook and whatnot. So we just want to consider kind of one platform at a time. What are your goals for each platform? If you want steady growth and you have about 2 to 3 hours, maybe even more, I would recommend really getting a foundation of posts out. So, having a consistent grid of posts that look really good, that match your messaging, that match your story and who you are and all of that, and then continue to post 2 to 3 times per week, focusing primarily on engagement and outreach. So this is looking like, if you have less time, I would recommend spending a little bit more time on your outreach strategy, because that's where you're going to have more, people coming into your account to look at what you're doing. And that's going to help boost, if sales and conversions is your goal, it's also going to help boost that goal, because you're actually bringing people along the sales journey through the DMs. If you're comfortable with that slow growth and you have like 1 to 2 hours per week, then I would just say do 2 posts per week and outreach once per week, whether that's for 30 minutes or for an hour. And that way you are still staying consistent, but you're working within the realms of your capacity. Because the last thing I would want for you guys to do is to say, okay, well, I have 5 hours per week, so I'm going to spend 5 hours creating content every single week. I would look at a 5-hour time budget and I would say, okay, let's do maybe an hour and a half of content creation, and then dedicate the rest of your time to that outreach initiative or to creating content for the next week and getting ahead, right? Especially if you have that goal of, more sales and visibility, for sure. The outreach process is going to help with both of those goals. But the amount that you do it is going to depend on what your desired outcome is. Does that make sense for you guys? Awesome. Awesome. I love to see when you guys are following along with this. So good. But at the end of the day, regardless of what you decide to commit to, I highly recommend sticking to something for 3 to 6 months and testing it out, because this is going to give you the opportunity to collect data and see changes happen. And this is why consistency is so key. Expansion doesn't often happen overnight unless you've been consistent for a period of time. So when you show up consistently, you can see the trends and you can understand what content you're putting out is performing well and what is not performing as well. So you can kind of tweak and adjust and see, what you can do to even improve the content you are putting out. Because you can post twice a week, and if 2 of those posts are getting pushed out to a bunch of people, and people are excited to see you post because they don't get that much of your content, but they love your content. Like you're going to have more people coming to your page posting just twice a week. Whereas, 5 times a week, you might have just as many people coming in to your page. Does that make sense? Like whether you're posting more or you're posting less, you could be getting the same rates, but by posting a little bit less, like 2 to 3 times a week, it gives you the opportunity and the time and the space to adjust and to create new things, put new content out there, see how it goes. And then people really desire that new content from you as well. Of course, this is going to be different for each platform, right? Like if we're looking at something like YouTube, you might only post once per week. You might only post once every 2 weeks because that's the nature of that platform. Still important to show up consistently on that platform, especially on something like YouTube. You definitely want to show up on the same day of the week whenever you do post. But either way, just having that consistent schedule is super important. So now that we have an idea of how often you might want to post, this is how I actually hold myself accountable and create and plan out my content. So I'm going to show you guys what the back end of my content creation process looks like. Would that be interesting for you guys to see? Do you think that'd be helpful? Awesome. So let me share my screen with you guys. This is what I use to plan out every single week of my content. I use a platform called Notion, and I've created a content calendar template that allows me to see my content and my posts in multiple different perspectives. It also gives me an all-in-one place where I can plan and keep track of my content every single day. So I'm also going to drop a link in the chat for you guys to actually access this exact template. You can just make a copy of the template, and then you can start putting in your own information, your own posts, etc., etc. But I'm going to walk you through how it actually works. So once you come in here, you'll see that it kind of looks like a spreadsheet. And it's not the easiest thing to navigate when it just looks like this, but there's a couple reasons why you might want to have this view as well. I'm just going to go through each piece. So we have the post title here, which is just for backend. This is just for you to recognize what kind of posts you're working on. Then we have the account, and all of these you can just click on and select. This is, for example, if you have multiple accounts on different platforms even, and you want to write, this is my art account, and then this is my business account, right? You can have this option here. And then we have the platform, which is telling us where is this post actually going out. And this is super helpful for if you want to repurpose content as well. So maybe you've made an Instagram reel and you also want to post it on TikTok, and you also want to post it on Facebook. You can select all the different tags here. And then we have the content status, which is super important. This is where you're going to track what stage is this piece of content in. Is it in the brainstorming phase, like you're just jotting down ideas because you've had a creative spark and you want to just get all the ideas out into one place so you can come back later when you don't have as much creative juice and get re-sparked with those ideas? Is it drafted? Drafted is like everything is in place, it just needs to be scheduled and posted. Is it in the planning process? Are you in the filming process? Is it in the editing process, right? You can track all of this here. And then once you've scheduled it and posted it, you can change these here. So this section, the approval status, this is really ideal for if you are working with a client. And I kept this in here just in case you guys are going to eventually hire a virtual assistant, or maybe you plan content for your clients and you want to use this template with your clients, because this is what I use with my service-based business as well. we have the approval status here so that if you've created a post, you've edited it, you've created a caption, everything is drafted and ready to go, but you want your client or you want to look at it before your virtual assistant schedules it or, you know, posts it, you can come in here and say, hey, this actually needs editing, or it has been approved and is ready to be posted. Over here, we have two different date options. The first one is the production date. So let's say you're making a YouTube video or you're filming a podcast episode, and there's a specific date that you want to schedule yourself to actually film it and create that piece of content. You can easily just select a date in here. And same thing for the post date. So what date is this post actually going out on social media? Again, you can just click and easily add your date here. You can also add a reminder if you want to get a notification like, hey, it's time to post the thing, or hey, it's time to, you know, film the thing. And you can also add in times as well, if that makes sense for what you're doing. And then we have the content type. So this is gonna be just for you to understand, is this a short form video like a reel or a TikTok? Is it a podcast, a carousel post, a static graphic post? Is it a static post like just one single picture? Is it a long form video like a YouTube video? And again, you can just add the tags here. So then you can also add your visuals here. And this is super, super important for if you want to repurpose content very easily in the future. So as you create your reels, as you create your carousels, your photos, whatever it is, you can grab a link or upload an image here. So what I personally like to do, I have a specific folder through Google Photos, and I upload all of my social media content to this one particular folder. That way I can grab shareable links and embed them here so that my clients, my virtual assistants, can easily find and locate the exact piece of content that I've created for this particular post. And then they can easily schedule it, post it, etc. And in the future, if I want to repurpose this piece of content, or I want to just repost it, I can easily just duplicate this post, change the date, and I have everything there all ready to go. Okay, so this is just kind of the baseline view, but we want to look at this in a way that's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and easy to navigate. So if you look up here, there's a couple of different tabs. These are different views of this database. And this is why I love Notion. It's like a spreadsheet that you can take and look at in so many different ways. So now we're looking at the posting calendar. This is going to show us what posts are actually planned to go out when. And if I click on this post, it's going to open up the full thing. So I can see all of the data that I've put in here, and I can also edit from this place as well. And I can also come down here and I can write, you know, my caption. I can have a checklist of all the things that maybe I need to do for the post before it goes out, like add on screen captions, right? And then you can check them off as you go along. There's also a comment section here. So if you're working with a team, you can tag them on something. Like, hey, I'm going to write a note to this person to please review this post, right? And then they'll get notified for it as well within Notion. You can also just write comments to yourself here as well, like maybe repost this in August, right? Boom. So you can also edit all of this here, like I mentioned before. And also, if you end up, you know, dragging and dropping things around, it will change the date in here as well for you throughout the entire database. So then we also have the production calendar, so you can see just what needs to be produced and when it is planned to be produced. And then you can also see what posts you have by each platform. So we have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course, if you're doing other platforms, you can add other platforms here as well, or you can delete, whatever. If you don't use LinkedIn at all, you can just remove that. We have posts by status as well, so we can see what's in the brainstorming phase. This is super, super, super handy for when you have done a brain dump of so many content ideas in here, and then later on, you're like, I don't know what to post, but I want to post something. You can come in here and you can say, okay, I've got this, started, this idea started. Now let me just come in here and continue working on it, right? And then you can get it to a place where it's ready to post. Then you can see, if it's recording, filming, editing, is it drafted, is it scheduled? And you can even drag things along through the process here as well, which is super helpful if you're going through the process of editing and then you're like, okay, now it's drafted, ready to go. And this just helps give you a visual of where you're at while also giving you a synchronized place to plan everything out. So if I plan out all of my posts on my computer, I can open up the Notion app on my phone and I can easily just download the video from the link I have here and then copy whatever I've written for the caption, and it takes no time for me to actually schedule that out and get it posted on social media. And then this last view here is for if you have a virtual assistant or if you're using this for a client. This is just going to show you all of the posts that are ready to be posted. So they're drafted, but they have not been reviewed yet. So then you can see, okay, I need to go in and I need to approve this post. I need to go in and look at it. Or your client, can know this is the tab where I go to just approve all the posts that have been made. So the other cool thing about this is you can always add additional filters as well. So if you come over here, there is a little filter button, and you can do filters for every single type of thing. Like let's say on the calendar, you only want to see posts that are going out to this Instagram account. When you put that filter on, that's all you're going to see on the calendar, right? And then you can easily just reset that. You can also add sorts as well. So it's only going to show, and this is actually really helpful in this spreadsheet view. If you do a sort, like I want to see all of the posts that are needing to be produced sooner rather than later, you can do a sort by the production date to show you all of the posts that need to be produced sooner at the very top. I've also added an additional resource here, which is just an Instagram caption counter. So if you love to write like I do and you end up writing super long captions, you can easily access it here by just clicking the link and then pasting your caption in here, and it'll tell you whether or not it is too long or not. So that's just a handy little tool I like to add in there. And as you use this content calendar, as you implement it, if you choose to implement it, you can also add your resources here. If you have, your content pillars that you want to add onto this page, if you have certain demographics for your target audience that you want to add to this page for easy access, it's very, very customizable. But I wanted to give you guys at least a foundation and at least an example of how you can actually organize your ideas and your content from the start to the finish in a way that's really clean. So do you guys see how this could be helpful and supportive for you, having this content calendar? Awesome. I love it. Do you guys have any questions specifically about the content calendar before we move on?
How do you schedule your posts?
Great question. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. There are, apps that you can pay for, things like Later, and there's different scheduling platforms you can use. I've tested out so many of these platforms and I haven't found one that I personally actually like. So I still schedule out all of my stuff manually through Instagram or through Facebook. I personally only focus on, right now, Facebook and Instagram are my main platforms. And so on Instagram, when you go to post a reel or you go to post a photo, if you have a business account, you can go to, I think it says like additional settings or advanced settings. And when you go there, there's a little option that says schedule this reel or schedule this post. And then you can just click that and select your date and your time, and it will automatically post it through Instagram or through Facebook. You can also just use the Meta scheduling. Like if you go to the Meta Business Suite, you can also schedule posts in there. I personally don't like to schedule reels through there unless it's going just to Facebook, because it doesn't give you the full minute and a half. And sometimes they don't have as many, audio options as well. If I want to like add some music to the background of my reel, it's a lot easier to do that straight through Instagram than it is through Meta, but that's also an option as well. I see you, Kat. Yeah, Meta Business Suite is my worst enemy because of the Reels thing. I love Buffer and Planoly. Yeah, for real. If they could just get the Reels situation figured out, it would be the best free tool that we have access to, right? But yeah, you can also pay for something like Buffer or Planoly as well. I think even Canva has an ability to schedule out posts. There's so many different options out there. So you can always experiment and try things out and see what you like, especially if you're going to be using multiple different platforms. Like you're trying to schedule across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, like all the platforms. You will definitely want some kind of scheduling platform like that. So that's definitely something to consider. You could also, for the price of having one of these platforms, you could also, pay a virtual assistant potentially to schedule things out for you, which is what I do. I have virtual assistants that take care of multiple tasks for me, and scheduling out my posts is one of them. So all I have to do is create the content, load it into the Notion calendar, and then she will actually take it and post it and schedule it out as she does. So that's also an option as well, and a great way to start delegating some tasks and getting some extra support in your business. So does that answer your question, Megan? Cool.
Yes, I was just exploring on Instagram while you were talking, trying to figure that all out. But yes, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, you're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions about the content calendar specifically? Okay, great. We're going to move forward then. So let me go back to my notes. So you guys all have access to that template. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions on how to start implementing it as you start to get familiar with it. But now that you have a place for all your content to live and come to life, I want to show you guys a couple of ways that I create content in very little time. So there's a couple of different ways depending on what kind of post you want to be making. I personally love to have a variety of reels, like short form video, as well as a variety of static posts, photos, carousels, etc., because it speaks to different people. If you're really wanting to focus on visibility and reach, you're going to want to focus primarily on reels and short form videos, because that is what really goes out to the masses and brings new people into your page. Whereas the static posts and the carousels are going to be more for nurturing your current audience or for nurturing the audience that you're growing. So I love making reels and that is my personal favorite. So when I have ideas or when I have just moments of like a spark of creativity, I love to document my life over curating specific forms of content. And I think this is something that is becoming more and more popular as we are starting to crave more authenticity on social media. So I want you guys to really remember that you can create the most beautiful Instagram video and pour your heart and soul into it and feel so satisfied with it. And that's beautiful and that's great. However, you could also take a 5-second video of you just talking to your phone and post that with some captions on it and reach thousands of people. And so oftentimes what I see is we are overthinking our content so much, and that perfectionist comes into play and says it has to be perfect, it has to be curated. This is, what I'm seeing everywhere else on Instagram. And like we talked about yesterday, we really need to focus on more so what's coming up from within. What can we create from the inside to, share that vision, to share our hearts with other people, to share our story and relate to them. So in those moments where you feel the fire, you feel the flame, you're like, yes, this is why I do what I do. Just put your phone on and start talking to it. And I will do this even if I am having a really hard day and I am having doubt about myself and I'm feeling confused and I don't know what I'm creating. Like the vision is blurry, because we all have days like that, right? Where the flame is not feeling as bright. And so what I'll do is I will literally put my phone on. And how many of you guys have heard of mirror work? Like when you sit in front of the mirror and you kind of look into your own eyes and you talk to yourself and you connect with yourself. So I will do mirror work with my camera and I'll put on my phone and I will get into my emotional feels or whatever doubt or whatever fear is coming up, and I will process it with myself while I'm recording it. And oftentimes it helps me get from that confused place to the other side. And I will go back and I will take snippets of those videos and I will post it, even though it is so vulnerable and sometimes so hard to post it, because I'm like, oh my God, are people going to think that I'm crazy, or like I don't know what I'm talking about, or like I'm delusional, right? Like all the fears still come up, but I post it anyways because I know that somebody out there is feeling that way too. Somebody out there can connect to that emotional experience, that story, that moment in time where I was doubting myself. But then I remembered, hey, like, I got this, right? And it's a very real, very vulnerable way to show people where you're at and who you are, and also to connect to where they're at and who they are. Some of my highest performing posts have been from this exact experience of me just being in the thick of it and being like, maybe I should just burn it all down, right? And then everyone's like, wow, I felt that so many times too. Like, we got this, And it creates more of a sense of community and togetherness and unity. And it also, logistically, doesn't take that much time. If you're feeling the emotion and you need to process it with yourself anyways, just throw the camera on. Just go take yourself through that process with yourself so that you can then share that experience of what it's like coming on the other side. And even if you just use like pockets of it later on, it's a really powerful way to document your experience as a business owner, as a creative, as an artist, right? So that you can really relate to people. So that is one way that I like to document my life. The other ways that are very simple are things like when I'm just making my breakfast, when I'm driving down the road and the song is hitting so good and I'm feeling it, and I just throw my phone on and I record myself singing. And maybe I don't even use the original audio of that video, but it's the clip of me in my element that I layer another audio over, and I put a little voiceover and some text over. And that could maybe take me like 10 minutes to make that, because in this moment, I just documented a piece of my life. And now I have this library of footage that I can use to tell a story. Sometimes I record things and I have no idea if I'll ever use it or not. I record things and I'm not planning what is this post going to look like. I'm just filming moments of my life that feel important, that feel impactful, or that feel scary and intimidating and vulnerable. And so that's a way that you can just really bulk create content without having to be curated about it. And this takes some pressure off, and it also allows you to create within the flow of your creative spark. So we were kind of talking about earlier, how do we stay consistent with that creative spark when it comes and goes sometimes? The best advice I can give you to stay consistent with that is to create as much as you possibly can when that flame is on fire and you are feeling that creative spark. Just create the content, even if you don't put it all together and edit it and put all the pieces together and write the caption and post it. Even if you don't do all of that during that time, just create the content, get it in your bank, upload it to your specific folder so it's easy to find later on, so that when you feel low resourced, when you feel like you don't have a lot of ideas, you have so much to pull from that can re-inspire you, that can, and maybe you have a different perspective of that experience you were having before when you filmed the content that you can speak deeper layers into later on. And that's going to help you stay consistent. Just like when the creative spark is there, create as much as you can, create from that place. And then you can plug it into the systems, plug it into the pieces so that you can then continue to stay consistent. Because the part of showing up and pulling all the content together and actually posting it, that takes discipline. And it takes that commitment to ourselves, like we were talking about yesterday. That's how we continue to build that trust with ourselves, that we can show up for our businesses, that we can show up for ourselves, that we are committed to the work that we're doing. Creating content gets to be this fun, flowy, open thing where we don't know when we're going to have our next greatest idea, right? Because we're just living life. And as we're living life, we're creating because that's what we do. We create from that place of the passionate soul, the passionate heart, the excitement and the grief and the fear and the doubt too, right? We can create from that place as well. And then it's the discipline that we cultivate with ourselves, that commitment we cultivate with ourselves to continue to show up and actually pull the pieces together in our organized system and actually get it out onto social media. Is this resonating with you guys? What I'm saying? Can you see how navigating content creation in this way can allow you to create more from that creative place while also showing up consistently? Awesome. Yeah. Because it is my desire for you that you can have fun with this. Even in the vulnerable moments. Even in the fear and the doubt, that you can still create and have fun with it and show up for yourselves and show up for your businesses, because this process gets to be fun if you allow it to be fun and you take out the expectation, right? And you remember, like, I'm doing this because I have this commitment to myself and I have this commitment to this vision, right? Like, you can take the pressure off, because when we come from that place of this is my vision, this is my commitment, it can be easy because we want to show up for that, right? Like, we really want to show up for that in our hearts. So keep in mind, with anything you do with content creation, try things out for a couple of months, see how it does, and then you can shift and change from there. Because we still want to be able to, look at the data and understand what's working, what's not working, what feels good to create. Also consider your emotional and energetic data as well. That video was really fun to create. I want to do more like that. And it's performing pretty well. Great. So that's a sweet spot. And of course, you can always experiment and explore. This is all one big experiment, you guys. It doesn't matter who says they know the algorithm better than someone else. Like, the algorithm is always changing. And you'll notice, like, I don't talk too much about this is what the algorithm is right now, so this is what we have to do. It's always going to be changing. And if we attach our results or our strategy so much to something external that is always changing, we're going to be constantly running in circles. And so my goal is for you guys to have a foundation that is solid, that even if the algorithm changes and your views are lower than they were, it doesn't impact your feeling of self-worth. It doesn't impact, you know, the way you feel about yourself and your connection to your audience. And you still show up and you still create because you enjoy it and because it does impact people's lives, whether they're seeing it now or they're going to see it, you know, in a week or two, right? And so that's why I really encourage flowing with your cycles, especially for the women in the room, the people with wombs and bleeds and hormonal shifts every single month. Like, I highly encourage you guys to track your cycle and do as much content creation as you can during your follicular phase, when you have the most energy, when you are hormonally and energetically more magnetic, because it does make a difference. Create as much content as you can, and then when you're in luteal phase, you can do a bit more of the behind the scenes, where you can be a little bit more low energy. You can take many more breaks because you're not, you know, trying to put yourself on camera. You can just kind of do the behind the scenes, chill energy kind of a thing to bring it all together. And at the same time, like, some of my highest performing content has been during my luteal phase, when I'm going through a hormonal freak out and literally like, what's gonna happen to my business, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but every time I hit that hormonal shift going into luteal phase, I question everything about my life. It's every single month, it's the same. And so I had posted a moment of experiencing that. And so many people are like, me too, I experienced that, oh my God. And it actually brought my community closer together, right? Because I'm sharing that vulnerable moment, even at a time when I usually wouldn't film myself. But I was like, let's give it a shot, right? Let's just post it. So there's lots of different things that you can share that maybe, you know, you wouldn't have shared in the past. But of course, what you post is also going to depend on your niche, your business, the people that you're trying to reach as well. And these are all important things to consider. So as you're creating content, whether you're sharing from a vulnerable emotional place or not, remember to always circle it back and bring it back to your audience. You want to really consider, like, what are their challenges and what are their desires, and how do I fit in the gap? And speak to that place through your content. Even if you're sharing a personal story, you want to relate to them in some emotional way, how you've been where they've been. And this is the journey that you've been through to get to the place where they desire to be. And then, you know, leave it off with a call to action. Like, if this is something you want to learn more about, like, send me a DM with the word health, and I'll send you some more details, right? Or I'll send you an invitation to my upcoming event, right? Something like that, where you can also initiate more connection and conversation as well. But also, it's great to just post content without call to actions and without expectations, just to continue nurturing that audience as well. Not every single post needs to end with like, hey, send me a DM to learn more about this thing. In fact, that can actually deter your audience from desiring connection with you if you're constantly asking them to do things. But it is, I'd say, if you're posting like twice a week, do one post with a specific call to action, one post without, just providing value. So I want to show you guys a really cool tool that I discovered recently that helps me create in very little time. How many of you guys in here have started to use ChatGPT or some sort of AI generated tool for content creation? Okay, I see a little bit, I see some yeses. So there's often some, you know, mixed perspectives on AI, and I respect like all the different layers of it. I personally have the belief that if we are using it in integrity, then it can be a really powerful, wonderful, wonderful tool to support us in the work that we're here to do. And so I'm going to show you how I use it in a way that still is in integrity and follows through with everything that I talk about here. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys real quick. So if you have the free version of ChatGPT, what you want to do first is you want to prompt it. You want to prime it and tell it about who you are, what kind of work you do, who you like to connect with. You can tell it about your business offerings and things like that, just to give it more details about who you are and what you do, so that the content it creates, it generates, is more in alignment with what you're actually looking for, right? If you have the paid version of ChatGPT, you can actually create a custom GPT, which I'm not going to go into depth with here, but you can basically create one for your specific business and give it tons of information about who you are, what you do, all of your offerings, everything. And so it has that information to pull from as it creates, content for you. When we're talking about using ChatGPT, I would never recommend generating content with ChatGPT and not editing it, not tweaking it, not adjusting it at all. Please, 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 please use this as a brainstorming tool. Use this as a tool to get the creative juices flowing, especially if you feel like you're in a rut and you need a little support. You're feeling a little brain foggy and you're like, that word, I'm trying to find a word. You can look for synonyms, antonyms, things like that on here as well. But for this example today, I'm going to ask ChatGPT. I'm going to tell it what I do. I run an online business mastermind where I teach people how to create sustainable systems to run their businesses. And then I'm going to ask it, can you please generate 10 quotes about online business and holistic health? Okay, because I kind of merge holistic health with online business. And it's going to generate 10 quotes to start getting some ideas. Okay, now what you can do to create a lot of content really easily, you can literally copy this. And then once you copy and paste it, of course, make little edits, little adjustments here and there. Just for the sake of this example, I'm not even reading these right now. I'm just going to show you how to do this. And then what you can do is open up a spreadsheet just in Google Drive, right? And paste this in here. Now you're going to see it has all of the quotes laid out. Then I'm going to download this as a, can you see this okay? Okay, awesome. So this is the template that we pulled together, right? You can, of course, change your brand colors, change it to your brand colors and all that. But I'm going to come over here and scroll down to bulk create. And we're going to then upload that CSV file that we just downloaded. So now we have the, it's showing the data fields here. So then we're going to click where we actually want this input to be, this data to be input on the template. So I'm going to click here on the text and connect data. And then I can connect that quote and click continue. So now it's going to show all of those quotes that we put into the CSV file, and I can generate 9 designs. So now it's opening up a new tab where we have all 9 of those posts. And of course, you would just come in and you would readjust a little bit. This is where you can then tweak what the quotes say a little bit to make sure it really matches your voice. And this is something you would actually say also. Make sure that this is something you would actually authentically say, but use this to just generate ideas and start, initiating, a bunch of different posts that you can use, right? So you can come in here and just adjust things as you go. But this is a great way to very quickly generate, maybe like you want to post a quote every Sunday. Maybe you want to do a little like quick tip thing every Tuesday. And this is something you can have, just set up consistently, ready to go, so that you don't have to think about what do I post on Tuesdays, because you already have 10, 20, 30 posts scheduled out and ready to go for every single Tuesday. So that's one way you can just really quickly use that tool to generate a lot of content within, like, that took me just a few minutes, right? If we take out the time when I was frozen. So what do you guys think about that technique? Is that something that you might try? Cool. Yeah. Check it out. See if you like it. See if it resonates with you. See if it works for you. And if not, like I mentioned before yesterday, take what works and leave what doesn't, right? The other thing that you can do is just consider repurposing content. So if you have created a reel, let's say about, these are my favorite products, for my work week, something random like that. You can create that reel and then transfer that same exact information into a carousel and repost that same exact caption, the same content, but it's going to reach a different audience. And something that I've noticed within myself and also within my clients over the past 10 years is that we often feel like we need to come up with new novel ideas every single time we make a post. Because if we've already posted about, 5 herbs for the cold season, like, nobody's going to be interested in that because we've already posted it. When in reality, only 10% of your followers actually see what you post. So you can post about the same thing over and over and over again, and people are still going to be seeing it for the first time. And maybe there's a particular way that you say it in this video that's different from how you said it in that video, that resonates with them even more, that gives them a different perspective, right? So don't be afraid to continue talking about the same topics, the same subjects. And in fact, I really recommend having just a couple of main core pillars of things that you talk about. It's like art, personal development, holistic health, like, what are those pillars that you talk about, so that it gives you sort of a guideline of what type of content to create that relates to your audience, that relates to the people that you want to connect to as well. All right, so how are we feeling, you guys? I want to give you some space to share any ahas, takeaways, ask any questions. How is this landing for you? Let me hear from you guys. Feel free to unmute and share or drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I really like the batching of the content in terms of the quotes, because I didn't really mean to do it on purpose, but maybe it might have been. I posted like a little tip thing today on my Instagram, so now this is a lot easier because now I can probably batch the next 30 Tuesdays just literally by doing that. So that was something that I liked, and I didn't know you could actually do that. So it was very interesting for me.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and the cool thing is, like, you don't even have to use ChatGPT at all if you don't want to use that. You can use the exact same system, but just put all of your ideas into the spreadsheet like that. Put all of your own quotes into the spreadsheet like that. And then you can easily just generate all of those graphics and download them all in the same flow. And then all you have to do is write a quick and easy caption for it and schedule it out. Yeah, it makes it super easy. And you can do 2 different, themed posts like that per week if you're going to be posting more than twice a week, right? I wouldn't recommend just doing these graphic posts and that's it. I definitely recommend having a variety of reels, carousels, posts, photos, because again, you're going to reach different audiences. You're going to reach different people with a variety of different forms of content. So I love that takeaway, Brandon. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else want to share or have any questions?
I have a question, Grace. How are you scheduling in the different times and tasks that you want to do. Like, are you putting in your Google Calendar, like, okay, this is an outreach hour, or, this is a caption writing hour, or like, how do you keep yourself balanced in all the different parts?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so this kind of dives into my organizational tools a little bit. I live off of my Google Calendar. I love it. I have a couple of different calendars within my Google Calendar. So I have like my personal events, I have my bookings, which is only for, events, digital events that are booked, calls with people to get them registered to the event, feedback calls, things like that. I have a business movement calendar, which is basically admin work for the behind the scenes of my business, which includes content creation. It includes my outreach strategy, following up with messages. For me, it includes following up with my team and making sure they have everything that they need and all their questions are answered. Creating content, things like that. So yeah, I schedule it out, I block it out on my calendar, and I also use Notion for a to-do list as well. So I have a to-do list on Notion where I will just brain dump all of my tasks that I need to do. And then I reference that and kind of schedule it out on my calendar. Because for me, being neurodivergent, like if I don't have it scheduled on my calendar, I will totally forget that it exists, and I'll like get scattered and try to go from task to task to task. So it's really important for me personally that I do block out specific tasks on my calendar. And if I don't have specific tasks to block out, or there's a couple of small things I want to work on, I will still block out time and just say business movement. So this is a time to like respond to emails, to take care of the little behind the scenes things, etc. And then I also have a calendar for my client work. So editing videos for clients, following up with my mastermind community, things like that are kind of on a separate calendar as well. So does that answer your question and help, Megan?
Yeah, that's really interesting that you have different calendars. Because right now I have all of that on one calendar, and it's just, I try to like color code it, but that doesn't always work the best.
Yeah, that's what I used to do too. I just had it all on one, and it got super overwhelming, and it was so hard for me to actually visually see where I was spending my time. And additionally, like I'm a part of a mastermind, and there's multiple calls every single week that I can tune into, but I don't necessarily need to or have the capacity to attend every single one of those calls. So I have a different calendar just for the mastermind schedule, and then I pull those events onto my business movement calendar if I know for sure I want to attend that event, so that it blocks that off from people being able to book during that time, something like that. Having the separate calendars allows me to kind of take things away, so I can see how much of my time is actually being spent in particular areas of my business. Okay, cool. And I feel like I could do a whole training just on that too, but a little sneak peek for you guys. Any more questions or takeaways? I see Kat saying that using ChatGPT as a brainstorming buddy has been super helpful. That's my favorite way to use it. Not necessarily to generate or write things for me, but to help me brainstorm. To kind of be a reflector. Yeah, Bridget.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm feeling excited about this, and it takes off a lot of pressure that I put on myself to post all the time and like be creative all the time. And so it's really nice to know there are ways, because I've felt a lot of resistance towards ChatGPT, and I used it for my previous work for an employer. I was like, okay, whatever, this isn't like for me, so like I'm okay with using it.
Yeah.
But then on my terms, I felt a lot of resistance. But just asking for advice or help, I'm open to it. And the more I'm open to it, the less pressure I feel. So thank you for sharing those tips.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think with tools like this, it really depends how we use it, right? Like you guys can tell, we can all tell when someone has created a caption through ChatGPT and literally just copy and pasted it. Because at this point, so many people are using it, and the way that it generates writing is pretty much the same. And you can get more refined with it. Like I was saying, if you make a custom GPT and you give it more information and you tell it, this is how I want you to speak, this is how I want you to generate, this is copy my tone of voice. And it helps a lot. But still, we want to make sure that we're adjusting it and editing it or just using it to brainstorm as well. Because it can be a huge turnoff for people if they come and they just see like ChatGPT regurgitated, copy written. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for your reflections, you guys. Love it. So before we move into the next session, I want to check in. Do you guys want to take a quick break, or do you want to keep going with it? Because we can keep going. Keep going? All right, let's dive into it. So the next section, I want to take you guys through a really interesting exercise. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through it together. And real quick, I'm going to exit out of everything else so we don't get kicked off again. Okay. So I want you guys to check in with yourselves for a moment. Okay, take a deep breath and check in. Considering your business, I want you to reflect on, if we're looking at from now to a year into the future, what would middle of the road growth look like for you in your business? What is just like okay growth? Like you're not mad about it, but you're not like ecstatic about it either. And then drop that in the chat. What would that look like for you? Middle of the road growth.
Are you talking about in terms of Instagram? Is this followers or just in general, or like personal?
Just in general for your business. So it could be, yeah, your follower count, how many sales you're getting within the year for your business, what kind of impact you're making. So Alfina says double the followers. That would be like middle of the road growth. Okay. Working with 1 to 2 women a month. And Megan, is that like new people every month?
Could be either. I'm gonna think on it.
Okay. Okay, increasing following, having consistent clients. For you, Kat, transitioning your ideal audience and clientele. I'm just gonna put like a ideal client, pivot here. Okay. So middle of the road growth for you guys looks like you've created some changes in your business. You are seeing some growth, but it's not like massive growth, right? So now let's consider, what would it look like in your most ideal world if you were exactly where you want to be in your business by next year? So what would like best case scenario in your business look like? Best case scenario, maybe it's having, daily leads come into your business. Maybe it's having weekly conversions. Alfina says 5 times the following. Okay, visit that visibility. Love it. Membership of 1K. Alfina, do you mean like 1,000 people in your membership? Okay. Beautiful. So I'm going to say like full programs / offers, daily leads, Weekly conversions. Awesome. Love this. More clarity. Yay, we love clarity. Authentic storytelling. Community online, in-person events. Oh, I love this vision, you guys. So I'm going to write authenticity as well. This is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful vision. Okay, so we've gone to the most ideal place. Now we have to consider as well, let me just copy this over. What is like, what would you consider to be a sense of discontentment, a sense of, maybe we could use the word failure, like you're not at all where you want to be? What would that look like for you? What would that feel like even within your business? Pausing business, definitely. Stagnation, things staying the same. Yeah. Not monetizing any services. So no money coming into the business, right? Okay. Continuing with the same not ideal clients, right? Working with misaligned clients. Okay, for sure, you guys. This is really, really good. Everything that you're sharing. No community growth. Yeah, exactly. So nobody necessarily plans to get to this place of like having to pause your business, having stagnation, nothing's changing, there's no money flow, you're working with misaligned clients. Like nobody plans and tries to get to this place. But it happens. And it happens often when we slip back into self-sabotaging patterns, when we don't have the support system, the mentorship, the community, the resources, the support that we need to continue to grow to this place, right? Because it's easy to stay kind of on the same path that we're already on, right? Like that middle of the road growth, like we're not mad about it, but it's not like the vision. It's not the dream, right? So my goal is to help you guys get to this place. I would love to show you guys a tool that I use to help my business and also my clients' businesses get from, you know, maybe here or here to this ideal place. Is that okay if I show you guys that? Awesome. So we have the circle of life, the circle of flow, the circle of business, right? Everything is always feeding into each other. And initially, we are looking at your mindset and your energetics because that is the foundation of everything, right? So we're going to play a little game. I want you guys to share in the chat where you feel like you're at with your boundaries in your life. And this can be personal, this can be within your business because it all impacts each other. So are you a red light? Like, ooh, I know my boundaries need work. I'm not really great with my boundaries. Are you a yellow light? Like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. Or are you a green light? Like, I am so solid in my boundaries. I know what I want. I know what I need. I got it. And drop it in the chat. Okay, I see some yellows. Yellows moving into green. Love that. Okay. Let me do this. So we've got some yellow primarily, and we've got like a little touch of green, right? So I'll put that there as well. Cool. So next step within our mindset and energetics is that level of self-trust that we've been talking about as well. So where do you guys feel like you're at on the scale of red, yellow, and green? Red is like, I do not trust myself. Yellow is like, most of the time I do, but sometimes I struggle with that. And then green is like, I totally trust myself. I got it. Okay, we've got a lot of green. Yay. And no answer is a wrong answer. It's super important to just be super honest with yourself here, because the goal of this exercise is for you guys just to assess very honestly where you are at with your business. So it looks like we're mostly green. We got a touch of yellow and then like a touchy touch of red. And yeah, sometimes it changes with these things, right? Like, but just consider where you're at currently. Okay. So the next step is your embodied mission. So you're clear about what you are here to do, and you feel really confident in the way that you embody that. So red would be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Yellow would be like, I kind of have some clarity. Sometimes it's a little bit foggy. And green would be like, yeah, I totally know what I'm doing. Cool. We've got some green. We've got some yellow. Perfect. Okay, so great. You guys are doing great in this direction. So the next step of the puzzle is this creative strategy when we're looking at business. So this includes things like your content creation strategy, your automations and business systems, your lead generation, things like that. So how are we feeling when it comes to having simplified systems? Red is like, I have no systems in my business. I'm doing everything. I'm so overwhelmed. Yellow is like, I have some systems in place, but it's not super solid. And then green is like, I totally have my automations dialed in. See some yellow. See some yellow and some red. Yeah, especially this can be really tough if you don't have much guidance on how to work with these kind of systems. Okay, so how are we feeling when it comes to showing up consistently with our content? Hopefully what we've learned today will help you guys with this, but just based on, where you're at currently, how are you feeling when it comes to consistent content creation? Okay, see some red to yellow, got a little green. All right, all across the board. And we'll do a little dash of green here. Okay, great. So how are we feeling when it comes to time freedom? Red is like, I'm so overwhelmed with my business. I'm doing everything. I have no time freedom. I am a slave to my vision. Yellow is like, I have some time freedom. I have some flexibility, but I still feel very much tied to my work and my business. And then green is like, I have a lot of flexibility, a lot of freedom. I can leave my business for a week and it still runs and I still make money and I'm still generating leads. Seeing some yellow. Wello. Wello, yellow. Okay. So primarily yellow here. Great. So the next stage when we're looking at the circle of the flow is connected containers. So a container is kind of like the space that you were cultivating, the space that you were holding with your community within your business. So this relates to, effective communication. So how do you guys feel in regards to your communication skills within your business? Red is like, I really struggle every time I get a conflict come up. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to handle my sales calls. I don't know how to reach out to people. I don't know how to ask for what I want. I don't know how to communicate, what I offer to people. Yellow is like, sometimes it's really easy and sometimes it's really hard. And then green is like, yeah, I feel really confident in my communication. I feel really clear on the way that I communicate with my audience, with my clients, and with my potential leads. Red, yellow, or green when it comes to communication? See some green, some yellow. Okay. Primarily yellow here with a little touch of green right there. Okay. So this also has to deal with your offer. So your program, your services that you provide, the product that you offer. How clear do you feel like you are with that part of your business? Red is going to be like, I have no idea what I'm offering. Yellow is like, I have an idea, but I don't have all the pieces together. And then green is like, I have my offer built and ready to sell, basically. So we've got some green and a little bit of red yellow. So I'll do a touch of yellow, touch of red, and some green. All right, are you guys having fun with this game? I love it. Okay, so this also has to deal with your daily lead generation. So how are you connecting and communicating and inviting people into your containers, into your space, into your little corner of the internet, right? Red is like, I have no lead generation going on. Yellow is like, it's kind of hit or miss here and there. And then green is like, yeah, I have daily leads flowing in, whether I am actively doing anything or not. Okay, so we have some reds and some yellows. Awesome. Thank you for being honest and authentic throughout this practice, you guys. It's super important. Okay, so now we get to complete the circle. This is the last piece of the puzzle, which is these optimized outcomes. This has to do with sales, collaborations, etc. So the first piece of the puzzle is collaborations, being able to connect with other business owners and actually work together for mutual benefit. So how do you guys feel about your ability to, participate in collaborations? Is it a red, like I have no space, I have no time, and like no interest in collaborations. I don't even know how to go about it. Yellow is like hit or miss, and then green is like, yeah, it's really easy for me to connect with people and collaborate with them. See a little bit of yellow. Primarily yellow and green with a little touch of red there. Okay, great. So the next piece of this puzzle is your community impact. You feel like you are actually making a difference with the work. So red would be, I don't even know if I'm making an impact. I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that something works. Yellow is like, sometimes I see that I'm making impact, but it's not at the scale that I want it to be, or that I know it can be. And then green is like, I know that every day when I show up to work, I'm creating immense community impact in a really positive way. Okay, so yellow to green, I'm seeing primarily. Okay. And a little spot of red. Okay. Perfect. So the next piece and the final piece of the puzzle is aligned sales. So red would be like, maybe I'm getting sales, but it's not really who I want to be working with, or I'm not getting any sales at all in my business. Yellow would be, sometimes I'm getting sales or I'm getting a lot of interest, but then people aren't really following through. And then green would be like, yeah, I am making good sales in my business and I'm working with the people who I actually want to work with. Okay, so I'm seeing some red and yellow. I see an orange in there, which is a little red-yellow combo. Awesome. So let's see. bit of red here. And some yellow orange. And that's pretty much where we're at, mostly red and yellow here. Okay, absolutely. So when we bring all of these things together, they all feed into each other. So we've got to have, this steady mindset to create the simplified systems and to have the time freedom and the consistent content, to be effective in our communication, to have a clear offer, to generate, leads daily, to then lead into, having those aligned sales, the community impact, and the collaborations. So everything feeds into each other within your business. And when we bring it all together, my goal is to help you guys get green in all areas and to consistently, stay green in those areas, even when there's challenges that arise. So this is how we really step into that radiant presence within our business so that we can really shine from the inside out to make that impact, to also, have those aligned sales and to feel really good in the process as well. So I'm curious if it would be okay with you guys if I do just like a very short commercial for what it would look like to actually be a part of the Radiant Presence Mastermind, to work on these things together and actually find yourself getting green on all aspects. Is that okay with you guys? Awesome, sweet. So let me clear all the colors off. So when people come into the mastermind, everyone starts with a one-on-one game plan session. And this is imperative because all of us are coming in at different stages of business, right? You might have your offer totally solid, but you need the systems and you need the strategy to help you sell that offer. Whereas some people come in and they have no idea what they even want to offer. They just know that they have a passion in their heart. So this one-on-one game plan session gives us the opportunity to get really clear on your next steps. Then we move into an onboarding process. So everyone starts off with the same foundational trainings and tools to get set up for success before entering the full program. So this we can also look at with this success path. So everyone comes in, and at 1.5 months, we want everyone to be really, really solid with that mindset. By 3 months in, we want to see everyone having some established systems and some creative strategy in place so that you can have more time freedom and focus on scaling and growing your business, or just taking more time for yourself, whatever your goals are. Then by 4.5 months, we want to see just such a solid offer that is performing well and creating that impact with daily lead generation for that offer as well. And then by 6 months, we want to see just, really, really solid aligned sales and collaborations coming through for that offer. But of course, like I mentioned, everyone comes in at different places. So not everyone will get there within, this timeline. Not everyone will, and some people will far exceed this very, very quickly. But just to give you guys the idea of the timeline that we're looking at with the mastermind. So if you've been in a coaching program before, it's likely that you've experienced what it's like to be sold to and then to be left behind or forgotten about. Have any of you guys experienced that before? Like when you reach out for support or you invest in something and then it's kind of not what you thought it was going to be? Yeah, kind of, right. So that's not a great feeling. And it's super, super important to me that everyone who comes into the program is super clear about what they're getting and how they will actually be supported through this process. So the support that I offer, first of all, we have that one-on-one game plan session, like I mentioned before, but we also have weekly coaching calls. So we alternate, we do a coaching call, a training on specific topics, and then the following week we actually do a accountability call and an integration call so that we can do open coaching and work through wherever you're getting stuck. I also love to bring in guest speakers on topics that maybe I have some knowledge on but aren't quite my expertise. So I'm always trying to diversify as well the information and the education to give everyone different perspectives along the way. Again, we also have accountability. So that's, you know, those open coaching calls. And we also have Slack support as well. So Slack is like a messaging thread where you can connect with the community within the mastermind and also ask for feedback and support in between coaching calls. I actually go through and work on things with people in the Slack group in between coaching calls. So there's a lot of support there as well. And we also have a recording and training hub. So if you're not able to make it to every single call, we always record everything and have those trainings up right away for you to access, including any resources, templates, notes, suggestions, action items, etc. This is also great if you're stuck on one particular area and you want to access a training from the past that we've done on a specific topic. You always have access to that as well within the mastermind. So with that, we also offer lots of templates and worksheets, much like the templates and worksheets I've been giving away during this event, during this training, where you can plug and play right into it, use them as tools for deeper reflection, take the ideas and implement it in your own way. Either way, we have lots of different resources, tangible resources for you to plug into, so you don't have to start from scratch on everything. And we also have Code Red support. So if you're in the mastermind and you have a specific goal and you've attended the coaching sessions, you have attended the accountability calls, you have reached out in Slack, you've gone through the recordings, the trainings, the templates, the worksheets, and you're still not seeing results, or you're still feeling stuck on something, or there's like a very urgent situation, you can contact us through the Code Red support, and I will actually jump on a one-on-one call to help you work through whatever is coming up. Cool. So this all sounds really interesting. What do you guys think so far about the support and the tools? Can you see how this can help you really improve some of those areas where you're feeling yellow, where you're feeling red, get to more of a green place consistently? Having this kind of accountability. Awesome. So we're going to talk about the price. So we have a 6-month love it or leave it deal. The reason why we do a 6-month container is because it takes time to implement changes, to implement systems, to integrate along the way. And I like to give ample space for things to come up and for us to work through things together, instead of feeling like, okay, we got to get the most out of it in a short period of time, right? So 6 months is a beautiful period of time for change to unfold. So for all of the support, for all of the tools, the accountability, the support, and because this is still in the beginning stages, it's very much like being in a one-on-one environment with a small community and group that you get to connect with and engage with and learn from, and while also getting that high-touch support from me as well. So for all this, it is $7K for pay in full, and I do offer payment plans where you would do $1K down and then $1K for 6 months every month. And if you're looking at this and you're thinking, wow, this is really, really great, but it is just like out of my comfort zone, out of my budget, this is why we also have these feedback calls. So super, super important that you guys keep those feedback calls, because I've been known to do some very generous things for people who really need this program and want that support and want that accountability. So just keep that in mind, keep an open heart, you know, looking at this and going into it, right? Something to consider. And then if you want to renew, because working together for a year, there is so much that we can uncover within a year of working together. If you're in it for 6 months and you're really vibing with it and it's really supporting you, you can renew at $1K per month from there for 6 months. All right, so that is the Radiant Presence Mastermind, and I am so, so, so grateful to have the opportunity to offer this program, this culmination of everything I have been really working on for the past 10 years, to bring it all into one place. And I'm just like so blown away by all of the the incredible results everyone has been getting within the mastermind. So I know that we're about 5 minutes until the end of time, but I want to give a special gift to a couple of people in this room. We are going to do some one-on-one social media audits for anyone who wants me to actually look at their account and go through it and give some suggestions and feedback. So before we go into that, I just wanted to preface it, since we are, at time. Does anyone have any questions about anything I just shared, or about the exercise, or anything about the mastermind? Or any takeaways about the way it was presented, or anything that was shared there as well?
No, I really enjoyed it. Really gave a lot of information or actionable steps that I can take moving forward without kind of like presenting something and then kind of leaving me hanging like, okay, well, how do I actually move forward? So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's super important to me that, I mean, within 4 hours, I try to give you guys as much as I possibly can. Honestly, I could train on all of these topics for like years, right? So it's important that I'm able to boil it down and actually give you guys those action steps. And that's something I really focus on within the mastermind as well. After each training, after each accountability call, we're always looking at, okay, what are the next steps and what do you have the capacity for? So that you're always giving yourself enough space and time to implement the things that we're actually coaching and training on as well. So I love that you picked that up. Super important. Any other reflections before we move on?
I just want to say thank you for the space. I had a lot of takeaways as well, and I'm excited to sit down with myself and really start applying them. So thank you.
Yay, absolutely, absolutely. Cool. Well, we can move on to the social media audits. If you have to go, totally understand, but this is also your opportunity to get some one-on-one support from me. So whoever is the first to drop their Instagram handle or Facebook or whatever, one platform in the chat, we can do it. All right, Bridget, you're up. Remedy Cake. Let me pull up Instagram. I love doing these so much. It's so fun. Okay. Okay, love. So inspired by yoga, driven by cake. Oh my God. Aren't we all driven by cake? I love it. I love how you have your name here really clear. Yoga and meditation. That tells me a bit about what you're about. And I also love that you have a date here for a live meditation event. However, I would love to see some sort of call to action that tells me where I can register for it, any more details about how to actually access that. I'm going to guess that clicking on your link tree would give me some more information. Let's see. So when I click on your link tree, I'm guessing it's this, presently curated meditations.
No, so for the live meditations, they're just on Instagram, so I don't really know how to like get people to that. Like I just post stories and let people know.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So a simple solution for that would just be like Instagram Live or IG Live meditation with the time there. Super simple fix for that. I would also recommend having some sort of, because let's see, on your link tree, this is all pretty much free offerings with your YouTube channel and some affiliate links, right? And then do you have any paid offers?
No, I don't at the moment. I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, totally. That's great. It's a really fun place to be in. Okay, cool. So what I would say here is just like, you could just put a little call to action, like click here, click the link below for free meditations or something like that, just to get people more engaged with your YouTube channel, following you over there if that's your goal. These Instagram bios are great for funneling people to specific information. So for example, the main thing that I want people to connect with me about are these events. And so I don't have a link tree in my bio. I just have a link about this event, encouraging people to register. So as you're creating your paid offer, keep in mind, how do I want people to learn about what I'm doing? And how can I actually like capture some information or capture a commitment or capture some sort of like tangible connection to this person because they clicked on this link? So you could do that by like, schedule a free consultation, a free one-on-one meditation, or, whatever that might be for you. Okay, I do love this picture of you as well. I feel like choosing something where you can see your face a little bit more clearly might help people connect to you a little bit more quickly. But it's not a bad picture, but having something that's a little bit more of your face clearly, I think would be great too. Okay, so I know you don't have a paid offer yet. So a lot of your content is very value focused right now, right?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. And that's gonna, probably shift a little bit as you create your paid offer and you're like sharing about that a little bit more as well. But value-based content is the way to go, whether you have a paid offer or not, just like providing that value for people. So let's see. This is very inspiring. It's not going to let me view it right now. Oh. First of all, like your feed is very clean. I like how you use all of these raw pictures of the real or, what's going on, because it actually makes me want to click on it. Like, especially this one. I'm like, what's going on here? I want to see, what's happening. I personally love just using the raw photos. But if you wanted to start implementing something like a quote or a, carousel or a quick tip or something that's more of like a graphic, more wordy, I would just recommend maybe alternating. So being mindful of like doing a raw cover and then doing a graphic and then doing a raw cover and then doing a graphic, just so that it looks really clean and you can maintain kind of this consistency that you already have going on really, really well. I also like a lot the text that you have on here as well. It feels very connected. It feels like very authentic. But I will say, I would come to your account and not fully know that you're a business. Like this looks like a personal expression page, which is not a bad thing at all, because running a personal brand is really, really powerful for connecting with people and selling. So I would still maintain that energy as you start to share more about your business, but you can maybe, utilize things like your highlights, which I don't know why they disappeared, but using things like your highlights to share more about your offers, right? More specifically, maybe take away some of these because there's a lot here. I think story highlights are a really great place to actually sell in and to share in and to share authentically and vulnerably as well. But as you transition to having more of your business stuff on here as well, or sharing more about your offerings, people want like a really clear direction of like, if I want to work with you, this is where I go. Or this is how I understand what you're doing as a business. Does that make sense? Is that helpful for you?
Yeah, a lot of it makes sense. I'm typing all of the notes. Yeah, that's really, really helpful. I feel like like when I created this, I was like, yeah, just focus on yoga. And I had a why and I was really focused. And then now just I've become more chaotic and adding more personal things, which I feel like I need to find a balance between. And then also just, yeah, be more directive of what I'm offering. Just be more clear on that with myself, so then give it to others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's part of the creative process as you figure it out too, right? Like posting things, seeing if it works, seeing how it feels. But yeah, as you start to post more about your business, that's going to help just clarify more and more, what you are providing with this account.
Hmm.
And that's something that you can also share more clearly in your bio as well. Because right now this is telling me a very cute fact about you and who you are, which is wonderful, and I love that. And at the same time, when you start sharing more about your business, it's going to become more about this is who I am in relationship to how I support others.
Hmm.
So within the bio, you want to be clear about, I help people in this way through this process. So, helping, corporate CEOs get clear and grounded through meditation, just as an example. So that people know exactly what, like, if they even can connect to what you're offering right away.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
So helpful.
Yay. Oh, you guys don't need to see that. Okay, so let's go for Rima's garden. Woohoo! Okay, 1 second. There we go. Okay, got it. Let's go. All right, Rima's garden. Okay, first of all, I wish I could see your face a little bit more in your profile picture. It's a very cute picture. And I also feel like there's some like mystery. I'm like, who is that under that hat? You know what I mean? We connect so much through our eyes. And so especially in your profile picture, it is super, super important to have a photo where people can very clearly see your eyes, your expression, your smile, where they can go to your profile and just be like, wow, that's a warm soul that I want to connect with, right? So that's something I would adjust, I would suggest adjusting a little bit. I encourage you to bring your inner child back to life. I love this so much. This is a really great way to tell people what you do. I would maybe just add how you help them bring their inner child to life. So like, what do you do that through? I encourage you to bring your inner child back to life through creativity, through art, through crafting, right? You have co-host of the Artist Cafe, co-creator of the Inner Blueprint as well. So I imagine with all of this, you don't have a lot of space left to write anything else, right? So this could be something where I don't know how important it is for you to personally keep this on here. This could be something that you move to a highlight. So you kind of have like a about me section here where you create a series of stories that kind of tell your story and talk about how you are the co-host of the Artist Cafe and you are the co-creator of the Inner Blueprint as well. And you have links to those accounts so that people can still find that and know that you're connected with it. And that would give you more space to have a more clear, maybe a little bit more information about what you do, and a clear call to action for what this link is, which I'm going to click on and we're going to find out. Okay, so you have 2 links here. First of all, I would recommend just having 1 link for anybody listening. It gives people less options, which actually helps increase conversions for whatever the goal is. So even if the conversion goal is to have people sign up for an event or to learn more about your community, your offering, having 1 link is going to increase people actually learning about those things too. So I'm going to go here and just check this out real quick. Okay, so this is kind of your membership, the Inner Blueprint community. So people can join right here. They can learn about it. I think that's really great. Are you having people convert through this link, Rima?
So yes, I don't know if they necessarily come to it through my account. Usually we directly send it to them. So that's, I don't know if people have actually clicked on that link, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And so this is is this your main offer currently?
Currently, yes. And then we have 2 more offers that are like higher tiers, so to say. And that is included into it. So you still get to be a part of the community.
Okay, awesome. So what I would recommend then for you guys is I see that you have a workshop already. I would recommend really bringing people into the workshop, and through that workshop, there's a lot of different ways that you could do this, but through that workshop, basically inviting them into your offers. So you could do it during the workshop, like a little commercial, inviting people to take the next step. For something like the membership, it's a low ticket offer. So that's something that you could invite people to join through the workshop, like right then and there. But if your goal is to get people into your main program and then they get access to the membership, you would probably want to do more of a gate and more of a sales call environment, right? So that's just something to consider, having people connect to a free offering and then you invite them into the paid offer. That way they get the opportunity to experience you. There's less pressure coming in through social media. They just get to see, oh, there's this like free training that I want to attend because I think it'd be supportive. And then they get to learn more about you and your offers through that. So that would be a recommendation. I like that you have highlights. However, the covers are a little bit hard to read from this perspective, just because they're a little bit dark and the text is so thin, and because it's so small, right? Like with the highlight covers, it's a little bit hard to read. And I would maybe just like switch out the emojis for what the actual title is. That way it's a little bit more clear what it is that they're gonna look at. I love that you have one for workshops so people can see what you're up to with that. People can see what it's like to actually attend a workshop, what it feels like. I would also share in this highlights section how to register for the workshop as well, kind of like you have here. But I would do a little bit less text and bring the link up more on the forefront so people can access it more clearly. I love that you have a little challenges section. This is really, really cool so people can see you implementing maybe some of the things that you're teaching in the first place. But I would suggest having maybe something that's like about me and about what you do and like about the offers that you actually have as well, so people can learn more about those offers through this space as well. Overall, looking really good. I love how clean and raw and dreamy and cute and your art is on display with your feed. it's definitely very encouraging to interact with it, and it has that feeling of like a personal account, a personal brand, which is really good. Kind of like what I mentioned with Bridget. If you want to start implementing, more of these kind of graphics, alternating a little bit just to keep the cohesive flow going, which also just looks really clean and professional. And I actually really, really love how you used a drawing as the background for this, because it still has that raw vibe, that feeling. This looks pretty good. I like this layout a lot. This one's a little bit hard to read over the image. So maybe lowering the opacity here or making this bold. This is a lot easier to read. Just want to consider that as well, because sometimes it's small things like that will make people just like click off of a post and not engage with it as much. So just want to point out that small detail to maybe adjust. And I love these like work in progress videos. And this has gotten some good engagement as well. So congratulations on that. Yeah, overall, I think it's looking really good. I love this. How you're showing you can create everywhere. You don't have to have a studio. That's really great, because that's a common like thing that holds people back from creating art. Sometimes
that kept me back from creating a lot.
Yeah, that's so good. So you're using your personal experience, your emotional experience, to connect to the same fears or the same doubts that the people you want to connect with might also have. So good. Yeah, overall, I think this is looking really good. I would just make some small tweaks to the bio here, changing just this to be a little bit more clear, readable, maybe utilizing the highlights a little bit more to share your workshops and really invite people into your space, while also teaching about your offerings as well. Do you have any questions? How is this resonating with you?
No, thank you. Thank you a lot. Really, it's very insightful. I'm definitely going to take action and make the changes that you mentioned. Yeah, because even the little things have a tremendous impact. Like you said, with that post, when it's hard to read, of course, that's gonna just make people click off. So yeah, thank you a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing and coming up on the hot seat. Super fun to go over your accounts. And yeah, the small things really, really do make a difference. And we have to think about, how are other people experiencing our accounts? How are other people experiencing us through the content, through our words, through the way that we're sharing? In a way that's like balanced, right? Because of course we don't want to get too caught up in other people's perspectives of us. We want to share from that authentic place, but also considering what is the journey that they are going through more so to connect with me, because we want to make it really, really easy for people to connect with us through, that link in the bio, through the highlights, the story highlights, and through the content as well. And that's where, strong call to actions come in, and having that consistent link, here for the workshop, can be a great way to just stay consistent with your call to action in your content as well. So like, you're talking about processing, grief through art, right? And in the video, you're talking about an experience you had where you were going through, you were grieving, and this is how you moved through it, through the art piece that you created. And at the end, you can say something like, and that's why I created this workshop, to help you process, grief through art. All you have to do is click the link in my bio to learn more and request to join. And then you can go from there with it. But that way it just stays consistent, and you know what you're getting people engaged with. And of course, that can change over time. If you want to do a different offering, a different workshop, a different topic, you just change your call to action.
Yeah, I love that. I think I'm really going to implement that from now on. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So welcome. And thank you for staying on a little bit later so that we could do this fun little social media audit. I'm so, so grateful for you guys for being here, for attending, for really leaning in over the past 2 days and learning and staying open. It has been so much fun getting to share this information in this space with you. And I am so looking forward to also connecting and hearing more about your experience as you have time to integrate it during our feedback calls. So it is super important to attend those calls since it is our exchange for doing this whole event and